What you're about to see is what our great mates Phil and Bruce recorded of our talks here on the Camping and Caravanning Club stand every day this week. We're just up there on that little stage. We're the Roman Radfords. We are Steve and Lindsay. We have been travelling in our motorhome or caravan for 16 years now?
I think 17 years.
17 years. We've got 3 children. If you don't know us, we've got 3 children. They're all boys. My house stinks. My eldest is 16. My youngest is 9. So we have travelled with them from tiny little babies all the way through the toddlers and right up to the delightful hormonal stage we're in now. They are a joy, aren't they, love?
They're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, they are really. They get a bit smelly, but they're okay. Yes. We're here today to talk about how our motorhome and our travels has given us freedom to go and explore. We explore over Europe.
Absolutely, yeah. We spent 6 weeks, if you don't know, going throughout Europe, travelling all over as far down as Greece, Albania, Montenegro, Croatia.
And we also explore around the UK as well. We're going to talk about one particular trip that we did. That was back in 2016.
Christmas 2016.
Yeah, 2016. It was Christmas. We were between 2 named storms. It was horrific weather pretty much, wasn't it?
It was. But yeah. It starts when we picked up our brand new motorhome on the 1st of December, an Itinio, our only non-Swift motorhome we've ever bought.
Yes, it was the first motorhome we'd ever bought brand new as well.
Yeah.
And we'd ordered it at this show.
Absolutely we did, yes.
Yeah, the October show.
So we got that home.
Yeah.
And quickly packed all our stuff in it.
Yeah, really excited. So excited we actually picked the boys up from school in that. Which you can imagine around schools, it's all quite tight traffic, isn't it? I don't think they'd let us do that now.
We'd embarrass them if we did that today.
Yeah.
We did that then. We was excited, they were excited, packed all the stuff in it, and we decided we'd go and do the NC500 for Christmas. Yeah. And everyone thought we were mad to do the Highlands of Scotland during the winter.
Yeah, we are.
So we own a science and graphics company, so we put graphics on it, we put some Christmas graphics on the motorhome, and we put a big map of where we wanted to go on the back of the motorhome, and we set off.
We did. It was a 7-hour trip from our house in Milton Keynes up to Glasgow, our first stop. It was cold and it was wet, wasn't it?
It was.
It wasn't an easy drive that day.
It was, but yeah, filled up with fuel, 7-hour trip up there, stopped south of Glasgow, overnight, first night on a campsite. We didn't want to do wild camping on the first night, just in case, make sure everything's working.
Yeah.
And then we carried on another, I think, 4 hours up to Loch Ness.
Yes. We've actually been members, we were trying to work it out, weren't we, of the Friendly Club for over
15 years.
It must be as long as we've been travelling in our vans.
And this is a great, great site. It's on the shores of Loch Ness, and it's a Camping and Caravan Club site.
Yeah,
so
really beautiful.
If you're up that way, definitely check it out. We wanted to try and find Nessie, didn't we? The boys did.
Yeah, took the boys out. We didn't find Nessie.
Alas, we didn't find Nessie. So.
No.
It starts just after, the NC500 starts at Inverness, just after Loch Ness.
Yes, it starts and ends there really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So we've spent 2 days just getting there at this stage, and we had 2 weeks to do the whole of the NC500.
Does everyone know what the NC500 is? I should have checked with you first. Basically, it is the most beautiful driving route in the UK, I think.
It's certainly one of.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous.
So we started on the NC500 here, the snow starts coming down now, and then we've got our sledges in the van, just in case.
Yeah, not enough snow for sledges.
Channery Point is one of the best places that you can spot dolphins in the UK, so we figured we'd go there. It was absolutely freezing.
They were as elusive as Nessie was. We didn't see any dolphins either.
Didn't see any dolphins, but we were wrapped up. We got back in the van, got in our onesies, had a bit of lunch, and carried on.
You're going to spot that onesies for the boys are one of their favourite motorhome accessories. They're in it loads. That, and for me, it's slippers. I like slippers. Does anyone else travel in slippers? Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's got to be warm.
And look at Harry's long hair before he had it cut off.
Beautiful boys.
Like Liam's.
Yeah.
Next stop, we carried on to HELMSDALE Harbour.
Yeah, wild camping.
First wild camp. We were going to try the batteries out, make sure everything is working fine.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Absolutely.
Seamless, that was.
Worked perfectly.
Yeah. Now the snow's coming in, and we are starting to hear that there's storms coming our way. and we're continuing up north.
Yeah, this was about the first year, or within the first year, of named storms being a thing. So that's why this is really apt for now as well, with the named storms we're getting. And Storm Barbara was on her way to us. We kept hearing about Barbara. She's going to have strong winds. Barbara this, Barbara that. Yeah. Didn't put us off yet.
Now, we've been wild camping, and a popular thing we'll do when we're wild camping is we'll find a swimming pool and use their facilities to freshen up. And we did this in Wick. We went in, we showered, we swum, we showered again.
That's such a great tip. If you're wild camping with a soap dodger or children, swimming's perfect. It's a great time. We always shower first, and then we get in the pool, absolutely, and then we shower again afterwards.
And it breaks the driving up for the kids, you know?
Yeah.
So we're only about half an hour now from the very top, from John O'Groats.
Yeah, it's quite a barren drive up, isn't it? There's not a lot up there, and when you arrive, there's literally a cafe, a souvenir shop, and the lamppost.
The obligatory lamppost. It was freezing cold that day, I'm sure you can tell.
I think every family that's been to John O'Groats has that picture. Has anyone else got it? You've got it, yeah.
He's still in his onesie.
Yeah, he's still in the onesie.
Still in his onesie.
Yeah.
So, Dunnet Head.
Yes, this is actually the furthest northerliest point on the mainland.
It's not John O'Groats.
No, I'd always assumed it was John O'Groats, but I was wrong.
So we wild camped there, right by the lighthouse for the night.
Yep.
And right now we're over here, guys. There's Dunnet Head, and you've got Thurso, which is the last kind of part of civilization before going across the top. It's the last town before heading across the top to a lot more remote roads.
Yeah, there's not a lot after that, apart from beautiful scenery.
Now, we were planning to get to Durness to stop for Christmas Eve.
Yep. So Thurso, Barbara was about to hit with a vengeance or a passion.
80-mile-an-hour winds, I think.
She was passionate and vengeful, I think. It was very strong winds, so we decided that we'd take the kids to the cinema. And luckily enough, there was a good car park.
Right. This is in the back of the cinema. We hid, tucked away behind the houses, and we took the kids to the cinema, back in there for the night, and Storm Barbara came over, and we were all right there, weren't we? We were all right.
The Christmas movie that year was a Star Wars something or other, Jedi's shoot.
There's a lot of driving. A lot of driving, and we're breaking up the driving with the swimming or going to the cinema for the kids. Now, we had to decide whether to turn back because of the storm or carry on, and I'm not a quitter. I don't like turning back.
Yeah.
So we braved it on across the top. I was driving at sometimes 25, 30 mile an hour.
Yeah, Barbara was dying away a little bit at that point the next day, wasn't it?
So we made it across. It took about 4 hours to get across the other side where we're going to spend Christmas Eve. And a snowball fight with the boys, as you do.
Beautiful.
And now the scenery across the top is really getting picturesque. I've driven Alpine roads and all across Europe, and it's just as pretty on the NC500. I'm pulling over every 5 minutes to take some photos, and it's starting to get into single track roads in places now. And what you'll find is there's many passing points like this every few hundred yards on these single track roads all over the top.
Yeah. Now, when we go on holiday or when we travel, we don't actually pre-book very much, do we?
No.
We have a destination probably in mind, and we have a route that we kind of want to do and a bit of a timetable for when we have to get on the ferry to come back. But this time, because it was Christmas, we'd actually made a booking for Christmas Eve dinner, hadn't we?
We did.
In a pub. And we double-checked it was okay to park there for the night.
So we tucked ourselves away there. And we did hear that Storm Conor was on its way next.
Yeah.
We went in the pub, the kids were mixing with the locals.
Yeah.
Playing pool.
They still talk about Brandon, the boy who they met there.
Right.
Yeah.
Then, Christmas Day morning.
Yes.
Opened up the presents.
Yep.
They just miraculously appeared in the van. I don't know how they got there.
I can tell you it was Merry Christmas. It wasn't Father Christmas. He was asleep because he'd been in the pub all the day.
So, had Christmas morning there, had our prawn cocktail before we went in the pub.
Yes. Now, does anyone else have prawn cocktail as a starter every Christmas day? Because that's what your mum used to do.
Right.
Because we we do. Well, it was supposed to be a starter, but we'd put the meat in first thing in the morning, and because the winds were growing, and blowing through into the oven, it was taking a long time to cook. So the prawn cocktail became lunch, then we went into the pub. I probably had some crisps as well.
And then played a little in the pub, and then we went back into the van to have our Christmas dinner.
And Connor was growing vengeful as well.
So we put the kids to bed.
Yes.
And at 3 o'clock in the morning, we got up. We were woken up with a storm that it was getting blown around, 90-mile-an-hour winds of Storm Conor.
Yeah.
And we were a bit worried.
Yeah, the edge of the land that you can see on the corner of the picture is actually the edge of the land. It was very much on a cliff edge. And it was a cliff edge the other side of the conservatory as well. So the wind was sweeping round, and it felt like it was coming up under the van and rocking us all over. That's the only time I've ever felt really nervous and really worried in the van.
And that area of Durness has got single stories. Everything's real small. We couldn't tuck away. So we went on the internet and we found a village hall that was kind of big.
Yes.
So we packed away the bed.
Yep.
Started up the engine, delisted, and I drove like 5 miles an hour to get there.
Yeah,
and we found this here. As soon as we pulled behind it, it was much, much safer.
It was
felt
much
safer.
Yeah. Yeah. And the great thing about that is because we'd moved in the night, the kids had woken up and were like, oh, it's magic. How did we get here? What happened? Did Father Christmas help us?
So it's Boxing Day morning now, and I figured let's go for a walk with the boys. Now, we did a little video. We weren't actually doing YouTube then, but there is a video I took that's on our channel, and that video was also picked up by Britain's Wildest Weather that year. And it's us going out in these winds, which is quite interesting anyway. If you go and have a look on our channel for that one.
George and I didn't go out because I didn't have enough rope to keep him as a kite. I think he would have actually flown away if I'd left him.
These are the smooth caves, and the wind was died down when we were down there, and that was all right.
Yeah.
But I was mindful now, we've done a couple of days wild camping, and I do like a couple of beers, and the toilet is filling up, and I need to empty the loo.
Yeah.
So we went back, and I'm like, we found a public toilet.
Yes.
To empty the loo, right?
There were no open campsites at that point. We'd been looking around. We'd done some research. We couldn't find a campsite, so we headed to the public toilet. Now we don't use chemicals in our toilet, so it's okay if you're absolutely pushed to empty it into a toilet. So I wouldn't recommend it if you use chemicals.
And after emptying the loo, we were going to venture down the west side, and a lady stopped us and said, "Look, I've been in Durness all my life. I've never seen the winds this bad.
No.
Please just hang on." So we did spot some vans on the campsite, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. There was a campsite close by. It wasn't open. It wasn't advertised as open, but there were other camper vans there.
Right.
So we took a chance.
And we tucked in behind this guy here. It was still a bit windy, but we were all right. And we managed to get some electric. We managed to top up the water. We had already emptied the loo. Got everyone through the shower.
Yeah, it was a wise decision to tuck in. There were some vans that were on the cliff front as well, but they were missing parts. We don't want to do that in our brand new van.
Absolutely. Next day, the storm had pretty much cleared, and then we carried on down the west side.
Absolutely.
Now, the NC500, most people do it anti-clockwise because it is the most picturesque, is on the west side.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll agree, some of these photos I took, I wasn't taking video then, I kept stopping and taking photos. They're absolute picturesque.
We had lunch in some really beautiful places, didn't we?
Even the boys stopping and taking photos. Yeah, we had lunch right here.
Yeah, look at that.
It was absolutely beautiful, look at that.
The contrast between the weather then and during the storms was frightening. We were trying to get our phones to work so we could get Google Maps to work. We travel mainly with Google Maps as our navigation system, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah. Because it was so remote, there was no data up there, but we spotted a pub, and that is as close to civilization as I think we're going to get.
We got Wi-Fi in the pub.
And wine, and dinner.
Wi-Fi, wine and dinner in the pub.
Tick every box.
You're going to see lots of these guys on the side of the road if you do the NC500, the Highland cows.
Yes. They're beautiful cows.
And Bialik Nabar. Now the big question that people ask is, should I take my motorhome over the Applecross Pass and over Bialik Nabar? And the answer is yes. If you're a confident driver, you're going to fit it over there. This is 7.5 meters long. Our new van is 9 meters long, and I would still take that over the top.
I absolutely would not.
if you're a confident driver.
Yeah.
There's even a sign advising no learner drivers, but if you feel confident, you'll get over there no problem. There's even some lorries that we saw going over the top there. So,
and a top tip that we kind of started to understand on this trip was that if there's a bus stop, buses are likely to be going over, and quite often they're big buses.
And if a bus can go over, then you can get your van over there. So
Steve can.
So we're over here now.
Yeah.
We've started here. And we're down here. Now to finish the NC500, you need to come across back to Inverness, but we were a little behind. We were meeting up with friends for New Year. So we called it a day here. We stopped right there and then carried on further south. The map we put on the back, there's our feral boys and Harry with his hair.
It's not just going on holiday with the boys. We do try and give them some history or some geography and some life experience as part of the trips as well. So one of our favourite things is to take little stickers and help them understand where we are in the world.
Where we stop, we put a little sticker.
Yeah.
So that's the NC500, guys. Highly recommend it. I know a lot of people are doing it now.
Yes.
Highly recommend it. But I followed that up in April of 2017 with the Wild Atlantic Way, which is 1,600 miles along the west of Ireland. And in fact, we did it more than that. I did the whole loop of Ireland in 2 weeks, and I would not recommend doing that.
No, if you're going to do it, make sure you either do it in sections or take at least a month to explore.
It was good, but a challenge.
Absolutely stunning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So our NC500 trip was a mix of campsites, wild sites, and pub stops.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a mix of everything. You can really pick and mix what you want to do based on what you're feeling that day.
Hope you've enjoyed that, guys. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of the show. If you've got any questions, we're quite happy to answer them.